The most dangerous woman isn't the one who yells at you. It's the one who never raises her voice. She doesn't threaten. She smiles. She doesn't demand. She suggests. She doesn't show her anger. She hides it perfectly. Machiavelli would spot her instantly. You probably won't. She listens to your deepest fears, not to understand them, but to use them later. She remembers your insecurities, not to protect them, but to press on them when needed. She studies your dreams, not to help you achieve them, but to know exactly what to threaten when you disobey. Think about the men you know who changed completely around a woman. The confident friend who became anxious. The decisive boss who couldn't make choices. The happy brother who grew depressed. What happened? They didn't just fall in love. They were taken apart, piece by piece. The scariest part? While it was happening, it felt exactly like love. Like understanding. Like finally being seen. Until suddenly, nothing made sense anymore. Your thoughts felt strange. Your instincts seemed wrong. Your friends looked like enemies. This isn't about fearing women. It's about recognizing danger when it smiles at you. The most dangerous sign in a woman isn't screaming. It's perfect, calculated calm when she should be upset. It's remembering every detail about you while revealing nothing about herself. It's making you feel understood while she remains a complete mystery. Machiavelli said it clearly. Fear the one who studies you while appearing harmless. Stay alert. Everything depends on it. Before we move further, do like and subscribe to the channel. Miss these signs, and you don't just lose a relationship. You lose yourself, your perception of reality, your trust in your own instincts, your future relationships, your psychological sovereignty. Society trained you to see her tears as authentic, her anger as justified, her withdrawal as your failure. Machiavelli would call this the greatest deception in human affairs. He would see what you don't. That emotions can be weapons, vulnerabilities can be strategies, and what appears as wounded might be tactical. The woman who masters manipulation doesn't just break your heart. She rewires your mind. Like water carving stone, she creates pathways of doubt where certainty once lived. Channels of guilt where boundaries stood firm. Reservoirs of fear where confidence once flowed. And this erosion happens so gradually you mistake it for growth, for becoming more understanding, more compassionate, more evolved, when you're actually becoming more controlled. The stakes aren't just emotional pain. They're the surrender of your reality itself. The dangerous woman doesn't want your submission for a moment. She wants your perception permanently altered, so that even after she's gone, you question yourself first. Doubt your boundaries. Hesitate to trust your instincts. The perfect conquest isn't just the man who falls. It's the man who stays fallen, unable to recognize the next dangerous woman because the first one changed how he sees. This is what Machiavelli understood about power. The ultimate victory isn't controlling someone's actions. It's controlling how they interpret what happens to them. And once she controls that interpretation, she controls everything else. You want to become immune? Start with daily signs that mark her as dangerous. Sign 1. She never fully reacts. When someone challenges her, insults her, or exposes her, she doesn't defend. She doesn't explain. She waits. Everyone else rushes to justify, to clarify, to prove their innocence. But not her. She blinks. She pauses. She lets accusations bounce off her perfect composure. Why? Because every woman who defends herself loses power. But the one who remains calm? That's the one whose revenge everyone fears. Machiavelli would rather let someone believe he didn't hear an insult than respond immediately. Because the pause isn't patience. It's calculation. And people fear being calculated more than being confronted. Sign 2. She mirrors, then vanishes. This looks harmless, but it destroys minds. Mirroring means she adopts your language, your interests, your dreams, your wounds, not to connect, to collect data. Then, without warning, she becomes unreachable, physically present, emotionally gone. Most men panic. They chase. They apologize for imagined offenses. They offer more vulnerability. She records every reaction. Machiavelli called this mapping the territory before invasion. You're not being understood. You're being studied. Sign 3. She creates no-win scenarios. The dangerous woman doesn't argue directly. She constructs impossible choices. If you loved me, you wouldn't need space. If you respected me, you'd know without asking. If you were confident, my past wouldn't bother you. Each statement sounds reasonable. Each hides a trap. Respond one way, you're weak. Respond another, you're controlling. Machiavelli perfected this in politics. The goal isn't resolution. It's psychological domination. Once you cannot win, you can only submit. Sign 4. She punishes honesty, rewards lies. Watch carefully. When you're completely honest, she withdraws. When you hide truth, she rewards with affection. It seems random. It's deliberate conditioning. She's training you to lie, to keep her happy, to hide her needs, to fake certainty when you feel doubt. Machiavelli understood this mechanism. Control through selective reinforcement, not through commands, through invisible patterns that rewire your behavior. Sign 5. She creates emergencies that only you can solve. Crisis follows crisis. Each requires your immediate attention, your resources, your sacrifice. You feel needed, heroic, essential. But examine these emergencies. Notice how they always interrupt your priorities, your rest, your connections with others. Machiavelli didn't create chaos. He manufactured it. The dangerous woman doesn't need rescuing. She needs you distracted from her inconsistencies, from the patterns you might notice if you weren't constantly putting out fires. These signs aren't loud. They're quiet, persistent, almost invisible unless you're looking. Machiavelli would see them instantly. He didn't just watch what people did. He watched what they repeatedly rewarded and punished in others. That's where true intention hides. Fear without discernment breeds paranoia. If you suspect every woman, you will. Misread signals, create enemies, build walls against allies. Shut down emotional access. Become the very thing you fear. Manipulative, untrusting, calculating. This is not Machiavelli's way. It keeps you safe for a moment, but makes you miss genuine connection. You become technically protected, but essentially alone. Machiavelli knew this. That's why he didn't just identify threats. He measured them against patterns. He didn't fear power in women. He feared power without consistent character. Fear must be balanced with observation. Not suspicion, not anxiety, but clear-eyed assessment. Not all mysterious women are dangerous. Some are private, wounded, cautious, evolving. But dangerous women aren't just mysterious. They're strategically inconsistent. They don't just keep secrets. They rewrite history. They don't just have boundaries. They move them without warning. Respect without awareness breeds exploitation. If you only see her beauty, her charm, her vulnerability, you will excuse red flags as quirks, interpret manipulation as depth, mistake emotional warfare for passion. You become blinded, not connected. And when people stop observing carefully, they start becoming tools rather than partners. The solution: balance. The most perceptive men walk between admiration and awareness. Not paranoia. Balance. That essential understanding that she's magnificent, but not immune to darkness. She's worthy of trust, but trust earned through consistency. She's complex, but complexity shouldn't mean contradiction. This balance keeps you emotionally available in the right way. Because you're kind, but not to be exploited. You're trusting, but not to be deceived. You're vulnerable, but not sleeping. This tension keeps you relationally intelligent in the right way. Because you don't assume the worst. You simply verify the best through time. And the moment you start verifying patterns, you stop being manipulated. How to build that balance? Machiavelli would do it like this. Trust actions over words, patterns over promises, consistency over intensity. You're always observant, but not always suspicious. sometimes trusting, sometimes verifying, sometimes stepping back to see clearly. Never paranoid, never naive, just attentive to what repeats. That balanced perspective keeps you safe without isolation. Give trust, but verify character. You don't withhold connection, but you do watch how she handles your vulnerabilities. You see how she treats others when she doesn't need them. You notice if kindness remains when cameras are off. Then, not from fear, but from observation. Not from suspicion, but from patterns revealed through time. You recognize the dangerous woman not because you feared her from the start, but because you gave her room to reveal herself. And she did. That's lasting awareness. Make decisions based on demonstrated character, without being blinded by beauty or charm. Machiavelli would never reject feminine power. He'd never fear it, but he'd train himself to recognize when that power serves connection and when it serves control. Let's build your defense system step by step. Obsession isn't countered with obsession. It's dismantled with awareness. Dangerous women don't fear angry men. They fear unreadable men. And that's how you become impervious. By being present enough to engage fully, but centered enough to withdraw cleanly. You give her your attention without giving her your power. Your understanding without surrendering your perception. Your presence without abandoning your principles. And then you remain intact. That stability becomes her uncertainty. Strategy 1. Observe patterns, not incidents. Most men react to individual moments. A sudden coldness, an unexpected accusation, a dramatic exit. You watch sequences. Note the timing of her emergencies, the pattern of her affection, the consistency of her inconsistency. You create a mental map no single moment can erase. They respond to the wave. You study the tide, not because you're calculating, but because you're learning the difference between character and performance. Now you've established reality. Strategy 2. Respond to actions, ignore explanations. She will give beautiful reasons for harmful behaviors, poetic justifications for broken promises, elaborate backgrounds for simple betrayals. Let her, because once you stop debating explanations, you start responding to facts. You don't argue about why she disappeared. You simply note that she did. Don't correct her narrative. Just align your boundaries with her patterns. Their imagination creates endless excuses. Your clarity creates unshakable standards. Strategy 3. Maintain emotional sovereignty, metaphorically and literally. Emotional sovereignty means your well-being isn't hostage to her moods. Your reality isn't defined by her accusations. Your worth isn't measured by her approval. They want full access, total influence, complete authority over your emotional state. You remain centered when she creates chaos, calm when she engineers crisis, present when she disappears, and absent when she returns demanding explanation. Why? Because that independence becomes your shield. They'll try to penetrate your center again and again, trying to find the hook that lets them control your emotional climate. When they can't, they either escalate dramatically or withdraw permanently. Both reveal their true nature. Strategy 4. Never compete for what should be freely given. They create artificial scarcity around affection. Respect, honesty, basic decency. You say I require consistency. They say you're demanding. You say I need truth. They say you're controlling. They transform reasonable expectations into competitions you must win through sacrifice, surrender, or submission. You don't compete. You simply state. This is what partnership requires. Then you wait, because the moment you start fighting for what should be the foundation, you've entered a game designed for you to lose. Machiavelli's genius was not in manipulating others. It was recognizing when he was being manipulated and choosing to exit the game entirely. That choice is yours now. The dangerous woman isn't stopped by confrontation. She's revealed by your quiet, consistent standards, your uncompromised awareness, your willingness to see clearly, speak directly, and walk away completely. That willingness is what she can't control. And what she can't control, she can't manipulate. You've made it to the final phase, where awareness is no longer a defense. It's your natural state, where you don't fear manipulation. You simply recognize it before it takes root. Machiavelli's final wisdom wasn't paranoia. It wasn't isolation. It was discernment. Because true protection isn't when you avoid all women out of fear. It's when you can engage fully while seeing clearly. The perceptive man cannot be manipulated. Once she understands your triggers, she starts exploiting them. But once you understand her patterns, you become immune to her tactics. And instead of fighting, you simply disengage. Because you're now informed. And what's informed becomes untouchable. The most dangerous sign in a woman isn't what she does. It's what she repeatedly does while denying she's doing it. That pattern of contradiction, that's what Machiavelli would watch for. Not her beauty, not her words, not her promises, but the alignment between what she claims and what she consistently delivers. When those align, you've found rare treasure. When they don't, you've identified danger. Not because she's female, but because she's false. The wisest men aren't those who fear women's power. They're those who respect it enough to require it comes with character, with consistency, with truth. Because in relationships, as in politics, sustainable power never comes from deception. It comes from integrity, maintained even when no one is watching. Stay alert, not in fear, but in awareness. Not in suspicion, but in clarity. The dangerous woman fears nothing more than a man who sees clearly, loves deeply, and walks away completely when necessary. Become that man.